Welcome to Talks with Sheba, the place where real people give real answers on issues plaguing our community today. Hi, I'm your host, Dr. Sheba Holly. Thanks for joining us on this marvelous Monday. We aim to invite, excite, educate, and empower. So let's talk. Let's talk about it being your Congress, too. Did you know there were congressional liaisons that help the regular Joe like you and me? We have here today Diane McNair. She is going to share with us how to make it happen for us when we feel like we are being taken advantage of. When we feel like there is no one who has our back. She knows what to do. Welcome, Diane.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
I'm excited to have you here because people are always talking about how they're being taken advantage of in the system. And when you don't know the system, it's like you're a victim of the system.
Exactly.
So what is your background?
You could wrap it up with saying, or start out by saying, 22 years in the House and Senate, operating on many levels, wide-ranging levels, from executive assistant to members of Congress, handling their scheduling, their speaking engagements, floor activity, caucus meetings, Black Caucus, Congressional Black Caucus Foundation, the big annual event, constituent services. I even went out on a limb as an individual, though I worked there, to help a family who did not have Thanksgiving dinner. And I partnered with a colleague in the district office, and we agreed to pool our monies if we had to. That's not part of the normal congressional platform. I just wanted you to know sometimes there are people with a bigger heart. And so my friend and colleague did find an organization that brought the entire array of foods for that family at 7 a.m. that morning. It was a wonderful experience. But back to the levels that I worked with and on were integrated activities, collaborating with other member office colleagues on my level and above, dealing with the White House officials, State Department, organizing my members' ride on Air Force One when the president at the time was Bill Clinton, who wanted to make a visit to that city to see. This was well before it fell victim to the economy.
Okay.
But in the Congress, especially as a staff person of a member, you will be challenged to pull upon everything you know how to do and to use your creative juices to analyze the task that needs to be done, pull in the people you might need, operate singly or collaboratively, make it happen. So it was in Congress that I found out what I was made of.
Well, I'm stuck on one, Air Force One.
Oh, yeah.
I'm stuck on the fact that you were doing the schedules for,
Members of Congress, and they are very, very busy. There's even one time when the member had agreed to one major event, speaking at Temple University for the graduation ceremony, and suddenly there was another big, equally important event that he had to be present for because he was an integral part of the big operation, and I'm speaking of Motown.
Ooh.
So,
Okay.
when they dedicated the older building to reopen it as the Motown Museum, he had to be there because just like Motown is Detroit, so is this member of Congress. And it became a problem. How can you make it possible for one person to be in two places on the same day in the same time window? That's what I call creative juices.
Yeah, creative, because I could barely keep up with my own schedule.
Exactly. And so what I did was speak with the communications director and ask if the member could go downstairs to the House recording studio, tape a greeting and I call them all baccalaureate, addresses, but graduation ceremony address, and have it on the big monitor while he flies off to cut the ribbon for the Motown Museum dedication.
Ooh.
So it's so much. I used to jokingly tell my mother that working in Congress is the equal of having people in power tell you, I need that cloud over there, move to that quadrant in the sky at a 45-degree angle and make it blink at 6 o'clock. That kind of thing. They throw you in the water and say swim. And if you have any acumen and any background in office operations and facilitating and organizing, you'll come up with the plan. And then if you're really in really good relations with everybody on the Hill, you can pick up the phone and get the help you need to pull that plan together.
Well, I'm glad I know you because you can move clouds.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, how did you get into Congress?
Oh, that's the funny story. I was out of work. I needed a job.
And this is 23 years ago? 23?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Okay.
And I needed a job, and the rent was due in 2 weeks.
The rent was due.
Yeah. So you see, I'm people too. I saw an ad, a 2-line ad in a newspaper called the Washington Star. And it said, secretary typist, 70 words a minute, dictaphone. I got that. Well, it's Saturday, and I'm anxious. I need Monday to come so that I can call them.
Right.
On Monday, I called and very frantically said, hi, my name is Diane McNair. Please tell me if the job you advertised is still available. The office manager, whom I found out later I was speaking to, said, why, yes, it is. Would you like to come in for an interview? Yes. So she said, okay, come. This was December 18th. I saw it on the 16th. On the 18th, that Monday, she said, well, come in at 12 o'clock. So I did. She said, have you ever taken out typing? I didn't know where I was, people. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do it like that. I didn't know where I was, but I said yes. And I went into this big, white, glistening building and went up to that 3rd floor with these tall oak doors. You know, everything was new to me. I'm just a government girl. I worked at Howard University for a grant position. I worked somewhere else on a grant position. But I'm a government girl, so that whole complex was foreign to me. I walk in, they greet me so warmly. I have a wonderful interview. And then she said, have you ever taken our typing test? I said, no. Well, go downstairs and take the typing test. It was like 1:30. And then call us at 3 o'clock. Well, I did. And I went to, once I did that, I was free to leave. I went to my mother's because I was too hyped to make it all the way home. And I wanted some moral support, and that's Mom. So I stopped by her house in Root Home because she's closer to the Hill. And I told her what happened, and I was really excited. And then we had lunch, and then 5 minutes to 3 came, and I started this. And then 3 o'clock.
Oh, you were nervous.
Yes, because I needed this, and I did not want a no.
Right.
We selected someone else. I didn't have room for that. So my mother at 3 o'clock says, it's 3 o'clock. I said, I know. She said, well, you have a call to make. I said, I know. She said, well, what is the holdup? I said, I'm scared. She said, you went all the way down there, had that interview, went and took the typing test, and now you're scared? Make the call. So I made the call. The woman answered and said, well, you called back. I imagine that means you want the job. I said, yes, I do. She said, fine, you're hired. It was December 18th. She said, there's no point in reporting until January 2nd. The only thing we can teach you is how to have a Christmas party because the whole Hill
everything.
is celebrating. And you're welcome to stop by. So I did. And on January 2nd, I started. 1980. What was I, like 31 years old?
Okay.
And the kicker that I want to share with you about this is I worked in that office for 1 month without knowing where I worked. Well,
How do you do that?
I'll try to explain.
How do you do that?
You walk into a building that means nothing to you. You see the big red emblem, gold trim sign saying Great State of Arizona. What's that mean? It didn't compute. And all I knew was I needed a job, and I'm a rapid fire typist. As a matter of fact, she told me I typed 85 words a minute with 3 errors. So, and that's way back then.
Right.
So I'm deaf to keyboards now, you know, after all these years of constantly typing different documents. Well, we had a staff meeting. They had staff meetings every week. And at the 4th week, I couldn't stand it anymore. They talked about things I didn't know, I couldn't relate to. There was this loud box on the wall near the ceiling that squawked. Not like a bird, that kind of thing.
Okay.
And I'm like, what is all that noise? It's so distracting. But I'm wailing away at this because we were using IBM typewriters and the memory typewriters as well. So in the 4th week, I couldn't stand it anymore. There's this tall, stately gentleman walking through the room, and everyone calls him by his first name. And so, and his name was Dennis. It still is.
You're so funny.
So one day at the end of the staff meeting, Carolyn, the office manager, said, "Are there any questions?" And I gingerly raised my hand. And she said, "Yes, Diane." I said, "I do have a question. It is rather work related." She said, "What is it?" And I said, "What is a Dennis DeConcini?" That was his name. She said, "Oh, he's a United States Senator." No, my face didn't do what yours did. Mine went ashen. I hyperventilated. I don't belong here. First mistake people make. Mm-hmm. And she said, "What's the matter?" And I said, "I can't breathe." So they had me bend over. They gave me a bag.
Are you kidding?
Yes, yes. This I didn't expect. I'm a government girl. I'm good, but I don't belong here. You see what I'm saying? This is the United States Senate. I don't think so. I don't belong here. So they all had this huge laugh about it. And she said, "Why would you say that?" I said, "No, the question is, why didn't your ad say that this was a job in a U.S. Senate office?" She said, "What would you have done had it said that?" I said, "I would not have applied." Bingo. We do not want a person who wants a job in the U.S. Senate. We needed a person who wanted a job.
Right.
And that's how that started in 1980. And moving to different offices, Senator Sam Nunn, back to Dennis DeConcini because they lost their legislative secretary.
Okay.
And since I worked under her, I was the quickest and best choice. So they pulled me from Senator Nunn's office after 3 years, and I began covering the lay of the land for the entire legislative team and the legislative director. That's congressional statements, the voting records, typing letters to constituents, 100 to 300 a day. We use automated equipment, but you have to be fast and you need to be accurate. And dealing with special events like Senatorial Coalition luncheons and breakfasts that are sponsored. That means paid for by outside organizations, but hosted. That means we got the room in the Senate complex by the senator, the member's office.
But it seems like your job is so complicated, and even understand the students have to go through school and learn about the government. Okay, and here it is. You are like in the trenches,
Yes.
doing your thing. And what made you go into advocacy?
Of everything that I did, all of the highfalutin, if you will, interfacing, organizing, and facilitating the needs of all these VIPs, embassies, foreign dignitaries, the gamut. The one thing I liked the best was people services. I found that amazing because that is where I found that Congress acts on another stage that people don't know about. We know they perform in the three-ring circus. We know what we see on CNN and what we hear.
Oh, yeah.
I understand that, and I know that their image has plummeted. But I don't deal with the political side of Congress. I deal with the people services side. What brought me to advocacy was in Senator Sam Nunn's office in 1982. In other words, this is not new. It's just new to most. I'll say new to you. I had to take the place of a young lady who quit. She was a casework manager's assistant. That's what they call these connective services, casework. I call it ground soldier in the trenches fighting on your behalf.
For people, for us,
For
people
the people,
like us.
for the people.
Yeah.
Now, Joyce, I guess it doesn't matter. She's retired and she was a good woman and a good teacher. Joyce Chestnut was the Capitol Hill manager of all things constituents when the system failed them. By fail, I mean you apply for a benefit to which you're entitled, you get denied. You're unjustly terminated. You cannot get your food stamps, or you are discriminated in housing or job selection.
Okay.
You name it. Military. They cannot touch the military court. What they can do is work alongside that military judge.
JAG officer.
Yes. To find out if there's any points of the issue that might be brought out that could help that particular military person in achieving whatever their goal is. Prison. If you have a loved one that has gone to prison and that prison facility is too far from you, you can appeal to your senator, your U.S. senator, because prison is federal. Let me point that out. The federal level handles any and everything that the U.S. Congress handles any and everything federal that goes on in this land. State legislature is a different matter. It's a more contained matter. It's a lesser matter, but not. I don't mean that to be disingenuous. I just mean they can't touch federal. Federal touches federal.
Okay.
So prisons are federal. Jail is state and county.
Got it.
If you have a loved one that's been sent too far away, Okie-doke, Utah, and you need to be able to visit your loved one, you can appeal to your senator or your U.S. congressman, and they will talk with the Bureau of Prisons, the head, not the warden, the head.
Okay.
And see if they can't have that loved one move closer to home.
Wow.
They will also help you with IRS matters. You don't have to go to the IRS and beg for mercy. Yeah.
Excuse me?
Yeah.
Oh, we got to talk about that.
Yeah.
We got to talk about that.
And I actually was I'm a beneficiary of that service when it had to do with my father's death, his property, and the fact that he owed this, that, and the other, and the IRS didn't seem to know that he had departed. Okay. And so they were hitting his property, which I was executive with taxes and things. My congressman got involved and saw to it that all went well with me and that the IRS became clear on the truth of the matter of this property and allowed me the time to get his assets so that I could pay them what was owed. So there are a number of areas, unbelievable areas, where they can help you if your case has merit, if it's legitimate. You can't bring them just anything because you're angry about it. If the facts fit the complaint, what they do is force the agency that made the error to come back to the table and look at the flaws that are clearly in this decision and correct that error and give those people their money, their benefit, or whatever they were supposed to have. And I've been a witness to that and a party to it.
Okay, so after these messages, we're going to hear about some egregious Social Security errors.
Are you or someone you know suffering from stress, anxiety, or depression? Have you experienced feelings of frustration due to lack of family and/or career support? Let's talk. Relationship issues got you down? Get the help you need. Contact Dr. Sheba Holly, mental health advisor and life coach, at clarity.fm/Dr. Sheba Holly. That's DrShebaHolly. If confidentiality, comfort, and convenience is important to you, guidance is provided on your terms. You deserve peace of mind. Contact Dr. Sheba Holly, mental health advisor and life coach, at clarity.fm/Dr. Sheba Holly. That's DrShebaHolly. Get answers now. Make your appointment today. Let's talk. Clarity.fm/Dr. Sheba Holly. That's DrShebaHolly.
You are now tuned in to Talks with Sheba, and we have Diane McNair here putting it down for us, letting us know that we, the people, have someone that will back us up, that will help us in a time of need in Congress. Diane, now you talked about, we were going to talk about the Social Security errors that could occur. You have situations that were horrendous.
Yes, I did. After I appeared on Comcast Newscasters, is it Comcast? No, Comcast Newsmakers.
Okay.
I just made a pitch and sent an email about this very thing and was called to come to their Delaware studio. I appeared on the segment, and when I got home, there were phone call messages when I got back. As a matter of fact, I took the day off from work, went to Delaware, my own dime, on my own pocket, and then came back to work. But when I got home that evening, there were phone call messages. I saw this because they aired it from New York to Florida. on cycles, recurring cycles. And I began to get phone calls. Well, I'm going to start with one of the phone calls, a woman from Delaware.
Okay.
She informed me that she and her son were both disabled, therefore eligible for and due Social Security disability. So it's disability
Like a
benefits.
SSI?
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly. And her file got lost. I jumped three acres ahead just then when I said that, but you need to know what brought me into it. She explained to me that they had been holding her in hostage situation and running her around that same barn for 3 years of trying to apply for these. And in the meantime, her son sorely needed his benefits. He was like 18. And, well, he hadn't turned 18 yet. And it so happened, since she's from Delaware, and I had been in Delaware and met her congressman who was on the show right before me, and I met his chief of staff, I contacted him.
You're the
when I
master
got back home.
networker. That's all it is.
I contacted his chief of staff, reminded him of who I was, and he said, "Oh, yes, we remember you. The congressman is still talking about your delivery." And I told him of this woman. And he said, can you put it in an email encapsulating all of the major points with her contact information and email me, and we will take it from there. That's what I did, and they did. What I always ask people to do is keep me in the loop until they pull you in as an intake, like a casework file.
Case manager.
And yes, and then let me know how it's going. I trust them totally because they do the work. I learned it from the best. She kept me informed. What happened was, and I found out also from that legislative director, he called me one day and said, "Diane, do you know what happened to that woman's file?" I said, "No." He said, "It went to Baltimore." I said, "And what does that mean?" He said, "It got buried. That is the graveyard for cases that keep getting pushed aside,
Passed,
pushed aside,
paper
and after a
shuffle.
while, it's nowhere, and then it just goes in. You might as well call it the dump, never to be raised or acted upon again." So they called the Social Security Administration, informed them of what they had found, and this too was a level of egregious mismanagement and mishandling of a constituent's case for a federal benefit to which she's entitled, and the son. They made them come back, resurrect that case, bring it back to the table, sort through the dust, and give that woman what she was supposed to have. And I got the report not only from that key officer in the congressman's office, but from the lady who called to thank me.
So these people, these liaisons are like watchdogs.
Yes.
For the government. Well, for Congress.
Yes, as insofar as the particular issue is concerned, be it housing, job, discrimination, prison, IRS, benefits of any kind, veterans benefits. Say you were a veteran and you were greatly injured and all you got from the VA was a 40% disability when you have no arm and no leg.
Are you kidding
my
me?
daughter used to work for the Board of Veterans Appeals. She could also attest to this. The anger that came through those doors when they got their determinations. Yeah. No, the determinations. 40% means they think they can work 60%.
Ooh.
Doing what? Yeah, you can, but wait, on the real side. Doing what that will really earn you a living? Melwood is great, but it's not going to pay your rent. That's all I'm saying.
Right.
So that was case number one. It was resolved, and the Social Security Administration was taken to task about it. The second incident was a gentleman who for 9 years had been challenging the denial he got for his disability also. SSI is a major sore point with many people. And apparently with the SSA, they don't really want to give it to you. And I say that and could say it at a panel, at a congressional hearing because of what I know. Anyway, he and I were talking one day. A lot of times I'm talking to people and somebody will chime in and they'll say, "Well, can you help me?" So I said, "Sure, I'll come by your house, lay it out for me," and I'm taking notes. He provided me with his Social Security number, address, dates of retirement, all that I needed, date of birth, etc. And because he is a constituent of that particular congressman, he has the right to go to him for help.
Right.
But I'm your bridge. I am the bridge to people because they don't know where to go. And not only do I know where to go and who to see to get what you need done,
Go, Diane.
I've done the work myself. So I have the prerequisites and the core that's needed. I look at it first because my name is attached to that. Oh, I would tell you about one that I couldn't attach my name to, but we'll get to if there's time. Moving forward, do you know that this gentleman, his name is Eddie. No, he passed away in December, but his name is Eddie, got a response back through the congressman's office that the amount they have determined for him is correct and that there is no further need for any further appeals because you only get 2. So for 9 years, he had been getting a certain amount that he knew wasn't right. He had an affidavit packet this thick of medical proof. He had phlebitis. He had many conditions. He was a teacher. Teachers stand and walk. He can't do his profession. And they're considering him not disabled. Yeah. And in spite of what's before them, the stack of. So I said, well, let me see that paper. And then Eddie said, and furthermore, that's not my Social Security that they put on this letter they sent to me. You know how they say, this is in reference to your complaint or your inquiry concerning so-and-so. For you, Social Security number this, address that, so forth. Not his Social Security number. First big mistake. Now I'm salivating. Because I want to make them accountable, and so does the Congress.
Right.
And then he said, that's not my date of birth, and that's not the date I retired from the school system. Oh, it's woo. Let's go. That's the way I felt.
Go time.
I got back in touch with the gentleman named Marcus who worked for that congressman, told him of this new revelation. He said, draft a letter, have him sign it, because I did all that kind of paperwork.
Right.
And bring it in. Don't even email it. Bring it. I brought it so he could have a paper in file. And I also emailed it as a document, just for the record. He brought it before the congressman. The congressman ordered the Social Security office to come back to the table. Once again, same process. Show me wherein you were justified in denying this man his SSI when he has this, and this, and you have that, and the other. As the young people say, this, that, and the third. Wrong. It's wrong. So you've been giving him whose money for 9 years? That's the point. He was supposed to be getting a disability benefit, not the minimal basic retirement that was issued to him from the school system.
Right.
So now, the very end of this victory dance is that the Social Security was told they need to reassess. And the woman told me and told the congressman's key officer handling it. He handled federal benefits, retirees, etc. That they have to not only reevaluate his case, but they have to give him retroactive 9 years worth, the difference between what they gave him and what he should have received. So let's say it's $400 missing per month. Multiply 400 times 12 months, and then multiply that figure times 9 years. That's what he was due getting, yes. And, of course, another slap on the wrist, yes, for not being cognizant, diligent, for being inattentive, careless, incompetent. I call them all of that. Because while they sit there and make their nail appointments, the new breed government worker, I'm old school. While they're doing that and chatting on their cell phone while they're doing a little work and putting your paper over here and this over, somebody's dying.
Absolutely.
Somebody is hanging by a thread, can't pay their rent, can't buy food, can't, you name it, can't. And it angers me, not on a personal level. That's the humanitarian in me. But on a business principle, it's wrong. And so that's the second case. He was put on fast track to get that rectified. And of the three that I think I thought I had, I had a birthday recently, so some things escape.
She's hilarious.
It'll be back. But there is a third Social Security matter. Oh, this one was my play godmother. Her
Play
husband,
godmother.
yeah, I adopt people. I've known her since I was like 27, and now I'm like 3 times that.
Wow.
So, and her family became like my family in Maryland. My mom and dad lived in D.C., and anything went wrong with me in Maryland, her family was there. That's another story. I've been mightily blessed with the kind of people that have come into my life, including her.
Oh, thank
Now,
you.
Mrs. I can say it, Fletcher, she passed away too, 2 years ago. But Mrs. Fletcher's husband predeceased her. She was getting a retirement, like a federal retirement, and so was he. It was a Social Security. She was getting a Social Security benefit. The law says, and I can't quote it and tell you what chapter and verse, but I can say the law states that if a widow is collecting hers and elects to choose her husband's because it is more, she can negate hers and take his. Do you know Social Security Administration would not let her do it? And when she was trying to point out to them what the law said, they called security on a 67-year-old woman to escort her out of the building. So the mindset and the spiritual foundation and the professionalism in many places has diminished. We still have some troopers, some people who know what they're there for, and they produce, they deliver. But we also have a new wave that don't take their work to be critical to the need of someone else. So anyway, that's the third one. And I told her who to call. She called the same congressman person.
Okay.
He got his person involved, and she got her money, and they got chastised. Now, let me very quickly say this. When you mention there are liaisons that do this work, let me take one sentence if I possibly can, because I'm a 2 and 3 sentence person. Here's the deal with the liaison. Every federal agency has a congressional liaison office in it. The congressional office does not deal with that agency. It's clerks, it's managers. They go to their own people who are in place in that agency. And so they're over the agency's head. And they point out the flaws. They show the wherein. And the congressional liaison officer or office person who's assigned to this takes it up with the agency head. And that's how it is that when you call your congressperson and they have to call that agency listens. You and I call, right. So if you can't get them to hear you, I just want you to know your congressperson or your senator, your U.S. senator, can. So that's the deal about liaisoning. I am what I combine my humanitarian spirit with what I wanted to be, a lawyer. So I became an advocate because of what I know and what I saw. And then I said, I want to do that when I grow up, meaning when I leave Congress, you can't do it while you work there.
Right.
You have to do it as a job, but you can't go out and promote it and help people one-on-one. But when I left, that's what brought me to the advocacy. Out of all of the high-level things and halls of glory that I've walked and the people whom I've been able to touch hands and elbows with, it was what I did for the people that lit my fire and turned on my light bulb, because I need to see people have what they need. It's like if you need it, I need to see you with it. And I'll do what I can to help you do it. And I do that free.
Ooh. We need more people like Diane. Up next, wrongful termination. What do you do? What do you do? She's going to tell us after these messages.
Are you or someone you know suffering from stress, anxiety, or depression? Have you experienced feelings of frustration due to lack of family and/or career support? Let's talk. Relationship issues got you down? Get the help you need. Contact Dr. Sheba Holly, mental health advisor and life coach, at clarity.fm/Dr. Sheba Holly. That's DRSHEBAHOLLY. If confidentiality, comfort, and convenience is important to you, guidance is provided on your terms. You deserve peace of mind. Contact Dr. Sheba Holly, Mental Health Advisor and Life Coach at clarity.fm/Dr. Sheba Holly. That's DRSHEBAHOLLY. Get answers now. Make your appointment today. Let's talk. Clarity.fm/Dr. Sheba Holly. That's DRSHEBAHOLLY.
You're now tuned in to Talks with Sheba. I'm your host, Dr. Sheba Holly, and we have the advocate for the people here, Diane McNair.
Hi. So glad to be here with you and share all this powerful information.
Oh my goodness, wrongful termination. Now, you know we need jobs out here. And sometimes little things are done to get this person or that person that someone may want in a position. It may be nepotism. We don't know. I'm not saying. But it could be. But it's wrongful.
Yes.
What do you do? I mean, what situations have you resolved?
Excuse me. Well, I want to go with the top of the line, most arrogant and egregious act done against a woman who had worked at an area university, a Washington, D.C. area university for over 4 years, had folders in her personnel file of accolades and congratulatory letters and points of accomplishments by these PhDs whom she served. But there was one woman, her supervisor, who did not appreciate this lady's, I want to say, spirituality, but I don't mean she was preaching gospel. I mean she had this peace about her. No matter what that woman did, she couldn't shake this young lady. And instead of retaliating, this young lady would always say, "Have a blessed day." And it infuriated that woman. I know that we have grown to a point where there's a more resistance to, wishing somebody a good anything in a high name. But it's just saying, be blessed. Just have a blessed day. Well, this woman, I cannot explain why. It was evil. She began to go through a back door. She had an IT specialist go in the back door of this young woman's computer and remove all of the accolade letters that had been copied to her so that they weren't there. And then she began to manipulate the lady's time card. When she worked overtime, it didn't show. And when she questioned or challenged it, she got written up as being
insubordination?
Yes, and being a hostile employee. She just wants to know where's her money. Show her the money.
Ooh.
And then it got worse. She began to go into the lady's personnel folder and remove the physical files, and then refused to let the lady see her file. Now, Congress passed the law when I was working there that employers can no longer withhold your personnel file. You need to be able to see it. But when I first started in government, eons ago, you had no right to see what was in your folder, so you don't know what they have done.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, but here we go. She went to ask, and it was not done, and then things piled on. She began to build a case file against the lady that was negative in nature, to say that, she's unresponsive, uncooperative, a troublemaker, because she asked for what she was rightfully entitled. And then she succeeded in firing her. I had been knowing her by emails and social media for 5 years. We finally met at an event, a venue over at the convention center. And I had helped her so much to stay positive, etc., that she wanted me to join her since I was going. And that's how it is that she called me when this happened. She was outside the university in tears, hysterical. And I said,
I hate to cut you. How long did it take them from, start,
start
to finish to
of her
terminate
unraveling?
and all, yes.
About 4 months.
What?
Yes. Yes. And the good news is, when she first told me about these, I told her, go into her computer and print out every accolade and letter of recommendation or commendation, that she could find and keep it in a stack. Good thing she did, because out of the 20 or so that were in there, she managed to pull 13 or 14 before they went missing. So that's her proof that she is not doing work below par. 4 months into this saga, she's outside crying hysterically. I don't know what to do. I have rent to pay. I have a daughter to support. And I said, okay, we got to talk. I'm going to fight this fight with you. And so what I did, this wasn't federal. You have to learn how to turn your corners and change gears.
Okay.
But I know the system. So it's not federal and it's not state, run. But what it is operated on the land of the District of Columbia, which had the same law that the federal government has in terms of wrongful terminations and employee harassment, hostile work environment, all of that. So I built the case against them. I had her send me documents, like her write-up of what's been happening, and then I would put it in an order so it flows. And then I told her to make a backing and bullet every point about each situation that she listed, that she wrote up, that, the summary. Summary, so they did this, they did that, and then pull out the points of violation. So that's what we did. And then I called the mayor's office because I called my friends on the Hill and said, listen, we got a problem with such and such. They know what I'm doing since I left and retired. And they said, that's our District of Columbia government, but they operate under the same rules that the federal does. Call the mayor's office. So I called the mayor's office. I talked to the woman, told her I'm Diane McNair. I have a platform called the People's Advocate. I help people when they have run into a snag with the system, where they are unduly denied this, that, and the other. I just gave her a spiel. I said, I have a client. I don't charge, but I have a client. This is what happened to her. And I said it. She said, oh, you need to call the D.C. Office of Human Rights. That's how I learned. Every case teaches me something new or reaffirms what I already know, that it works. So I did that. They told me what she needed to do. Yeah, it's an online process. It isn't everything nowadays. But in it, you fill out everything that they need to know about what happened. Okay. And you attach your supporting documents. If they're emailed, you can attach them by document. If you have the paper file, you bring it when your hearing comes. She had to wait 90 days. Okay. But when she went to the hearing, they asked her first, her unemployment was denied. Yeah. So they're going to block her way of putting a slice of bread on the table, take her job wrongfully, and then stand back and say, and we're not going to give you the benefit to which you're entitled. So they asked her, have you been signing for your unemployment? She said no, because they denied it. The hearing officer said, when you leave here, because her hearing was 9:30, 10 in the morning, you go to the Unemployment Compensation Board, fill out your paperwork, and sign backdated for all of the 3 months you've been waiting for this hearing. She did that and began to get checks. And they told the university they had no right to deny her because of the circumstances under which she was
terminated.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the big win is that when all was said and done, all information laid on the table, all these unbelievable violations of employee rights were exposed, they told the university, one, you're going to back pay her for the 3 months that she's been out of work. You must, and they did, rescind or reverse that denial of her unemployment compensation.
Wow.
And you are hereby cited for violation of section this, that, the other.
So they had fines.
Yes. And then when it was done, they told this young lady, now that we have done the federal or city level process, you are free to file a civil lawsuit.
More money.
So that is my favorite All of them are my favorites. But that is my favorite bring home, along with the gentleman who had 9 years of wrong money. Oh, the lady whose case was buried for 3 years in Baltimore rates at the top too. But I wanted to share the top examples of the kinds of things I've been able to help with, and the kinds of problems that we, the people, run into.
So what are the steps? Because there's someone out there that want to know the steps, and they hear all this, and this is great, but what are the first, second, and third thing to do when you run into these issues?
Okay, for all of the issues, the first step is one and the same. Give a close look to your complaint. Make sure that it has merit. That is, you have actually been denied something to which you're entitled. Or a case that, like an application for a benefit has been waylaid and nobody will talk to you, or they've denied it and they won't agree to an appeal. They deny it. You have two. The first appeal and then the second appeal. After the second appeal,
you're done.
They're done. You're done as far as they're concerned. When you have an issue, step number one, make sure you have all your ducks in order. Have as much documentation as you can. If you can, line up the scenario and write it out, because it'll help you give your rhetoric, and it's not rhetoric. I just couldn't find another word. It will help you to state your case. That's the first thing you do. Look at what went wrong and why you think you are entitled to what they denied you. Number two, call your congressperson. U.S., if it's a federal case, call the U.S. House of Representatives in Washington. I'll tell you how to find out who your member is in a second. If it's a state matter where the county says that's your line and you got to cut the grass, I helped a woman with that too. Call your state legislature, and they will in turn direct you to the county officers that are in charge of this particular misaligned zoning that they have tried to slap you with for a fine or whatever. And back to the federal. When you need to know who your member is, it's by your zip code. Very easy.
Okay.
You will go to the U.S. House of Representatives website, type U.S. House of Representatives, top browser. When it comes up, click the icon or the little thing that says find your congressman or find your senator. U.S. Senate, if you want to use a senatorial office to help you. And it'll ask you for your zip code, and comes up who your representative is or who your senator is. Every state has 2 senators. Cities, townships may have 3 to 6 members of Congress. So you have to, that's when it'll call for the back end of your zip code, the last 4.
Yes.
So see what you have that went wrong. Contact your U.S. House of Representatives member of Congress. Talk to the first person that answers and tell them you need to speak with a caseworker. They will make sure that you are their constituent, ask you where you live, what's your zip code, so that they don't misdirect you. Then they will give you the number to their district office, or they will transfer you, and you will talk to the first person that answers there. You will tell them that you have a case and you need to speak with a caseworker about it. They might ask you, is it involving taxes, retirement, housing, discrimination? I don't know, whatever, because the landscape is wide. I'm just coming up with the first things that come to my mind.
Right.
Once you tell them what it's about or what it entails, that's what tells them who to pass you to. It is a system, and it works. When you get that person on the line, they will ask for a synopsis, overview of what it is you have an issue with. And they don't do legislation. They do you. You have an issue.
Ooh.
That's what's important.
But they need to keep copious notes.
Yes.
Copious notes. You have to have your ducks in order. That's
true.
necessary.
And even though you might have an overview written out, you need that, as she said, your supporting evidence. Okay. And once you do that, to tell you the truth, once it's in their hands and those foot soldiers have gotten hold to it, it's a done deal because they will tell you, okay, we see a violation, we see a flaw, we're gonna handle it. We will be handling it from here on out, and I'm out. I step back.
Okay.
I just want to know how you're doing.
Well, I'm sure there's someone out there that you can help. So please give your website, Diane.
Oh.
And a phone number that can reach you.
Okay, phone number fast. That's fast. 301-640-1380. And the website is www.thepeoples, altogether, advocate, PEOPLESADVOCATE.net.
Show them a copy of that.
Oh.
That's your website? It looks like
Yes.
that. You go to the website, that's what you're going to see.
With different hair. I had to say it. I'm sorry.
That's fine. And you also have a book. We're going to just
My
highlight.
hair.
Yeah.
That's my hair.
Highlight your book really quickly before we go off air because I know you want someone to just know the title of the book. Show the title.
Here's the title. Echoes from Your Past, Vision for Your Future. The theme is the two are not the same, so don't get them twisted. The echoes from your past speaks to the whispers in your ear about what went wrong, what you did, it was your fault, this, that, and the other. The vision for your future tells you all of that was necessary for you to have your stepping stone, your learning curve to take you to your next place. You can't bring nothing to the table of life empty-handed. So it's gonna help you realize who you are and catch a new vision for your life. Figure out that there's more in you than meets the eye. And as you go through life, just like the mighty oak tree, you're an acorn. But inside of you is a mighty oak tree.
She's definitely a mighty oak tree. I just want to thank you, Diane, for coming on, educating the masses. Just tune in next
appreciate
time.
it. I'm glad.
Check
I hope
her
I
out.
helped someone.
Read her book. Go to the website. If you need help, people are there. Liaisons are there to help you. Contact Congress.
Or call me. Because I'll do the bridge work.
There you go. She'll take care of you. And remember, work like you don't need the money, love like you've never been hurt, and dance like nobody's looking. We'll talk later.
Talks with
Did that
Sheba.
work?
Be empowered.